Hello, geeks, freaks, and all those unique. It's been a long week, but we finally got some new Star Trek. 2020 has sucked beyond compare in so many ways, but for Trek fans, it's been a little bit of a singular experience. We've never had 3 Trek shows on the air in the same calendar year. So we started this year with Star Trek Picard, and we just finished Star Trek Lower Decks last week, and now Star Trek Discovery is entering its 3rd season. So previously on Discovery, the crew of the USS Discovery was instrumental in the Klingon Federation War. At the center of it was Commander Michael Burnham, who was a contributing factor in the start of open hostilities on the USS Shenzhou. Burnham is also the adoptive daughter of Sarika Vulcan and Amanda Grayson, making her Spock's sister. These relationships come to the forefront in Season 2, when Spock goes missing and Burnham searches for him along with Captain Christopher Pike, who's become the captain of the Discovery. Spock had a mental break after finding out that all life would be wiped out in the future by an artificial intelligence called Control, which was being used by Section 31 within Starfleet to stop threats. Control wants to get information that's on the Discovery so that it can evolve itself. To stop Control from destroying the universe, Discovery time travels over 900 years into the future. That took a while, and I barely scratched the surface of what happened. I didn't even talk about the Spore Drive or Klingon sleeper agents or the Mirror Universe. So spoilers for Season 3 from here on out. Season 3 starts out with That Hope Is You, and we see our crew. Well, actually, we don't see our crew. The only previously established character we see in this episode is Michael. Having come through the wormhole to the year 3188, this is the farthest in the future Star Trek has ever been. This is past the temporal Cold War. This is past... Is it past what happened in Living Witness? Oh no, I'll have to check on that. Upon entry, Michael crashes into a ship, which sends her careening into a planet, and the ship ends up following her. So she ends up getting into a scuffle with the pilot of that ship, whose name is Book. After a little bit of violence, they eventually come to something of an accord. And Michael finds out from this pilot, Book, that the Federation actually doesn't exist in the future. It had collapsed upon itself 100 years ago due to something called the burn. Basically, all of the most of the dilithium in the galaxy exploded. And that crippled space travel, because dilithium is what allows ships to fly at warp. And this whole episode is basically Michael getting to know what this post-Federation world is like and getting to know her new companion. He's a smuggler, but he's also got like this special connection with plants and animals. So this episode, I really liked it. It's got some really fantastic stuff in it. It is an expository episode, but I think you absolutely need to have that when you're entering into basically a new world. This is farther than we've been in Star Trek before. We've never been this far in the future. Even when we kind of got close to this, it was never really anything that we saw for an extended period of time. Basically, the furthest we've seen is Star Trek Picard, and that's still, like 800 years earlier than this? So there's a huge long gap in time. So it is an entirely new world, and we need to understand what it is before we can really get into the stories. By having it just be Michael, you don't split your focus between all of these characters reacting to things. You can just have one character react, and then you find out all of the information you need. Sonequa Martin Green is also just really good at carrying an episode like this. She's a fantastic actress, and she's got chemistry right away with the actor who plays Book, which is David Ajala. You can definitely tell that something romantic is going to happen between them. I mean, I don't think that's a secret at all. If you've seen the trailer, you've seen them kind of coming close to kissing, so they're like teasing at it already. And I think it's seeded nicely in their first interactions, like you know it's going to happen, but it's not so overt flirting that you feel that it's weird that literally like an hour ago in Michael's timeline, she was kissing Ash. I mean, she and Ash had not been in a romantic relationship for quite a while since he, killed people being a Klingon sleeper agent, but there was obviously still feelings there. So I think that it's got to have a little bit of a breather between that relationship, but you can definitely see that there's chemistry there between them, and they're both very attractive people, and they certainly take advantage of how attractive David Ajala is in this episode. And they just seem to have a nice rapport that I look forward to seeing more of. I think the only thing that gives me pause is when is the Discovery crew going to show up? And I don't mind it in this first episode that they're not around because, like I said, it's a good way to establish this world by having Michael be the one to have everything explained to her. But one thing I find with Discovery is that they can have a little trouble revving things up. And I say this as somebody who really likes Discovery. Just a lot of the times, I'm just waiting for something to happen. It happened in season 2 where it's like, we gotta find Spock, and they made this huge deal about the fact that Ethan Peck was going to be playing Spock, and he doesn't turn up until halfway through the season. And if we're establishing that Michael is searching for the Discovery crew, I don't want it to be half the season before she meets up with them again. I think that as much as I like Michael and Book together, I think it'll be repetitive if it's just them. We need to get her back with the crew. We know in universe that it's going to be a while that Michael is in the future. Well, I guess she's going to be in the future for good now. But during this season, a good amount of time is going to pass for Michael because she goes from her short cropped hair to these epically long box braids, which look beautiful. I'm assuming that it's supposed to be natural hair growth to show time passing. I don't think she's getting extensions. That seems not like something that Michael would be really into. If an amount of time passes, I hope that rather than having several episodes stretching out over, several years, I hope maybe for episode 2, we either do a time jump at the very beginning or the episode itself shows several years of Michael and Book in the nascent Federation trying to find Discovery. So one thing that these Discovery reviews are going to reveal is that as much as I like the serialized format, my anxiety causes me to worry extensively about things that are going to happen in future episodes. It doesn't mean I want spoilers. I've been really good and have not found out anything. Before this episode, I didn't even watch the clip that they had shown at, I think it was New York. I stay fairly pure, except maybe like a trailer or two. But still, the anxiety is high, and it's just like, oh my God, like I'm so worried about things that are going to happen. So I don't know if I'm going to enjoy things until they've all happened. So it's like my feelings on this episode might change as this season progresses. I did enjoy this. I thought this was a strong opening. Let's get into Michael Burnham's very bad, no good day. Seriously, this day completely sucks for her. She's left everything she knows behind. Her brother is gone. Her lover is gone. Her parents are gone. I mean, both sets of her parents. Like, she lost her biological mom and she lost her adoptive parents. And she has all of these people who have pledged to join her in, her mission. And they're just not there. She has no idea when they're going to show up. And they're also in the only reason she came to the future in the first place. It's all to protect Discovery from being caught by Control. And she doesn't, she knows that Control obviously did not succeed. But, I mean, she doesn't know where the ship is so that she can protect Discovery. And then when she finally gets to the future, she crashes. She's attacked. She finds out the only thing she's dedicated her entire life to is gone. She's drugged, she's shot, she's thrown off a cliff, and she's eaten. I mean, this is just, in terms of bad days, it's just, one of the worst you can really imagine. And she even knows just how ridiculous it all is. And Sonequa Martin Green just plays it really well when she's drugged. And she's like, I saved all the things and everything's bad. Like I said, the advantage of keeping this episode small is that we get to see the world of the 32nd century. And I like how the technology has changed. It's definitely not what we've seen before in Star Trek. I know a lot of people have complained about the advancements in Discovery versus the original series. But we can see here that the production team can come up with ways to advance the technology so that it looks different than the 23rd century. It definitely looks more advanced because you have all of these things being created from I don't even know how to describe it. We do have holographic things, but then there are things that are definitely created from it's almost like the T-1000, the way it, kind of amorphous metal that kind of forms what you need it to be. It could be a desk or it can be a console. But the way it's done, it looks advanced, but also kind of has this grit to it, which I kind of like for this future that is not too rosy. These are definitely not the clean holograms of Picard. This is dirtier. This is a future where things are a little less pretty than we would expect it. But I wouldn't say that it's a post-apocalyptic. It's post-Federation, but it's still functioning. It's just not functioning the way Michael would like it to function. It's dirty and everybody seems to be out for themselves, but it's not quite to Mad Max levels. And I appreciate that. Just because the Federation doesn't exist anymore doesn't mean that civilization has fallen. It might be in a fairly bad place, but if you look at the world, there's still, it seems, some good things. Okay, endangered species are being attacked, but you still have these very beautiful areas. That's one thing. The shooting of it was beautiful. The outside scenes were just gorgeous. So we're in this post-Federation world, and I'm really interested in exploring this further. Honestly, somewhere down the line, possibly at the end of the season, I might have to do a video going into this deeper once we find out some more information. But I like that the Federation fell not because of a war or an attack. I mean, as far as we know. The Federation fell because of the lack of a substance. There's been two things that have kept the Federation utopia going, and that's being able to explore the galaxy and not wanting for anything. And by destroying dilithium crystals, you've basically destroyed those two pillars. So I'm reminded of a scene of Quark in, I believe it's the Siege of AR-359. I think that's the episode title. And I'll put the clip in right now.
They're a wonderful, friendly people, as long as their bellies are full and their holosuites are working. But take away their creature comforts. Deprive them of food, sleep, sonic showers. Put their lives in jeopardy over an extended period of time, and those same friendly, intelligent, wonderful people will become as nasty and as violent as the most bloodthirsty Klingon.
What this wise man has said has basically come to pass. That as long as the Federation gets everything that they need, everything's hunky-dory. But if something goes wrong, kind of everything collapses and people turn to savages. And that's kind of what we're seeing in this future. Money exists again, or at the very least, there's things are commodities again. The utopia of the Federation only existed because people wanted for nothing. They could have anything they wanted. But now we have scarcity again. And that creates this cutthroat society where people are trying to get the thing. At that point, people had 1,000 years of not having to acquire things. So I think that they kind of fell to all of these groups that did still have acquisitions. Oh man, I would love for the Ferengi to show up, some Ferengi dealing in dilithium. That might be an interesting thing. Certainly we're not shying away from the classic aliens, because we did get the Orions and the Andorians in this one, and we got Morn species, which I actually wrote down, look up what Morn species is, but I didn't, so just gonna call them Morn species for now. The one thing I did notice is that according to Deep Space Nine, Morn lost his hair because he was keeping latinum in one of his stomachs. But this guy was also missing all of his hair. So is he keeping something in his stomachs? Or maybe he is Morn. We have no idea how long his species lives. Oh my God. Imagine if Morn existed 1,000 years in the future. I'm sorry. I'm here for that. So we'll find out more about this future world. It's something that I'm very interested in knowing how all of this stuff went down. I'm probably more interested than they're actually going to give me, but then that's why I write fan fictions. Now, I'm sure this premise is going to infuriate some people because it's kind of against the Roddenberry ideal, but honestly, it really works for me. I'm somebody who thinks that the utopia of Star Trek is a beautiful idea, but I'm a realist. I know that the future of Star Trek is kind of just, barely holding on. If just one thing goes wrong, just snap your fingers and then it can fall apart. And let's face it, the Federation had 1,000 years. That's a long time for a society like this, for any society. So they had a good long run. And the Discovery crew, it seems like the plot is going to be for them to bring the Federation back. And if the crew is going to be stuck in the future from here on out, which it seems like that's going to be the case, them bringing back the Federation is a really interesting premise for the show. We're obviously, the show is changing from what it was. It's been taken just completely out of its previous environment. So if they were to just explore the galaxy and, see, new worlds, new civilizations, or whatever the opening says, it would just be samey. It would be like, okay, so they're in the future, but like not much changed. But by giving them the task of rebuilding the Federation, suddenly you're giving them a new purpose, and everything seems new, and it refreshes things really nicely. I really liked this episode. I think the writing was really good. I'm very interested in knowing more about this premise. The acting, as I already said, was really great. In particular, I really loved the sets in this episode. I liked the outdoor stuff. And I liked the market that they had, where everything seemed to kind of be on top of each other. And everything seemed very crowded. I liked that idea that, oh yeah, of course, everything would be really crowded together because you had this sprawling Federation, and all of a sudden you can't travel between planets the way you used to. So everything kind of contracted together so that the Federation tried to stay together. Like, all of these different species tried to remain together by moving closer to one another. But then that kind of contributed to not having enough resources for everybody. And that contributed to the Federation falling. This is kind of just me, hypothesizing as to what happened with the Federation. So I'm really looking forward to see where they go with the rest of this season. Tell me what you thought of the episode in the comments below. I'll be reviewing Discovery throughout this season, so make sure to subscribe to my channel. Also, like this video, share it across social media. All that helps support this tiny channel. You can also head over to my Patreon and support me there. You can get access to early videos and to polls. And if you're looking for something to wear, you can hit up my TeePublic and Redbubble. Well, you'll find this shirt. This is my Starfleet Pride shirt, which is officially licensed by CBS, actually. This is the Bisexual Pride shirt, but I have a dozen different Pride flags, all done in the the Starfleet Delta. So please check that out. And if you buy those, it does help support me. So until next time, may the Force be with you.